Hello everyone, welcome back to Switch Up, and to that video where we look at the best sales. Now there are some crackers in this week, including Mr. Geralt, a load of Saveloys, a flawed gem, and a game you should definitely avoid. Now if you want to save 5% on your eShop credit, head to switchup.gg where you'll get 5% cash back every time you buy an eShop card. And it also supports us a little bit, so we really do appreciate it. Alright, tickle all the buttons. Congratulations to the winner of the free game this week. Your name's in the top pinned comment. I have a copy of Everdream Valley for you. If you want to win a game, then just leave comments down below and I'll choose one. What are the best games on sale this week? Well, my name's Mark Walker. Welcome back to Switch Up. Now let's find out. Alright, the sponsor of this one was Valkyrian Arc Hero School Story 2. That is at the permanently low price of $16.99, and it sees you taking on the role of the new principal. You choose exactly who comes into your school, and there's a mechanic where some of them will be better in certain areas, but they'll also have negative character traits. It feels a bit like back in the day in Theme Hospital when you were employing different staff members. It's a hybrid, so you'll be dealing with the day-to-day life of the school, placing the buildings that you want, training up the students in many different areas, and then their lessons will almost act like their skill tree, and then you can directly control them out on the missions in the world. The map gradually expands, there are lots of different locations to go to, bosses to fight, and of course, spelunking to do. Now I enjoyed it. There's a couple of little quirks that need patching out, but it's still a fun game, and at that price, it's definitely a good start. If you like sim life games, this one's got swimming, fishing, the strategy elements, the turn-based combat of an RPG, and little mini games that you can actually take part in yourself, like swimming races. If you're interested in checking this one out, I'll pop links to it in the description and the top pinned comment. But 55% off, we have the Brilliant Phoenotopia Awakening. This one's down to just over £8 until July the 13th, and its developer actually based it on old school Zelda 2, the side-scrolling Zeldas. It's excellent, and it's actually about 50 hours long. There's some really tricky boss fights in here, and it's kind of open world with lots of different puzzles, tough combat for sure, and a ton of collectibles, but it just has a cracking soundtrack. Now if you've played this one, let people know down in the comments, because I think Cape Cosmic have got a real underrated game on their hands. Now we do have a full review of that on the channel if you want to go check that out, and the whole thing fits into just 985 megs. Then you've got toss a coin to your Witcher, or toss him 50% of the usual coins if you're in the US regions. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, the complete edition, is currently half price, or you can get the base game half price in the US as well. But if you're after a massive open world adventure that's got fast combat that uses the sign system, so you have like essentially these magic symbols you can create to set things on fire or create a shield around yourself, and hundreds of hours of gameplay. Now it'd be interesting to see how the next game turns out. I know number 4 has been announced and it's in the works, and I gotta be honest, even if it was almost identical to this but with, I don't know, new quests, I'd be happy. It's one of those, a bit like Fallout 3 New Vegas. If they just remade that, I'd be more than happy, and stuck a 2 on the end of it. Still, this is an excellent game, loads of side quests. If for whatever reason you haven't played it before, you should definitely say come on Roach, and then head out in The Witcher 3. Now that sale in the US regions only goes on until July the 7th. First person shooter fans, we don't have a great amount on the Nintendo Switch, but there are a couple of absolute crackers. Severed Steel is one of those, and they recently added gyroscopic controls. I know. You can slow down time. Every time you jump, actually, time slows, and each of the stages is almost like a little sandbox. Now what was very cool is it reminded me of old school Red Faction, because you could blast holes through walls, jump through, and then shoot the enemy through the face before jumping back out over a cliff, spinning around in the air and just dominating everyone. Now every time an enemy drops their weapon, a bit like Super Hot, you can kind of grab it and carry on your momentum. And in the EU regions at the moment, I think it's down 60%, which is its lowest ever price. It's not on sale in America, so you can always buy it on the other eShop, or usually you get the sales the week after. They included Firefight mode, which is like a high score chaser spread over 42 unique levels. Very much a John Wick simulator. I think I mentioned it maybe about a month ago. We got the Falconeer Warrior Edition, which is 69% off. That's its cheapest ever price. This is cool. It's almost like an open world. It's not a Falcon simulator because you're obviously the Falconeer, but you ride around and you're doing missions on its back. But when you're controlling it, it controls like an arcade flight sim, if you know what I mean. At the moment it's down 69%, again in the European regions and also the Americas, and there is a physical of that one as well. It's developed by Thomas Sala, and while it does have a full mission system, there's also side quests in here, and I think they included the DLC in this version. The base version that I played didn't have the DLC, and that DLC has 3 additional side quests. It's cool. The premise here is so nice, having the rival factions coexisting, and it's pretty amazing what one person can do. That sale goes on until July the 17th. Untitled Goose Game is a cracking little title. They actually added in a co-op mode to this as well, so you can play through the whole thing with a friend, and you just go around terrorizing people as a goose. It's all set in a quaint little English village, and the way you progress through it is also really clever. So you like move from the, I don't know if it's a lake or a river, but you move from the edge of there, then you go into like Farmer McGregor's garden, and then you move into the town, and there'll be certain things that you need to get. It's a real sandbox feel to it, and I know this had so much hype around it at launch, but I think it lives up to it. It's a very fun game. Plus you have a dedicated honk button. Now if you do want to play co-op, you can actually just use one Joy-Con each, which is always nice. More games need to do that. But yeah, if you haven't played it in a while, you already own it, definitely download the new mode for the 2 players, because I think it's a lot more fun with 2 of you. If you want to be a pesky goose causing trouble, then yeah, check that one out at its lowest ever price until July the 12th. Klonoa Fantasy Reverie Series currently have a big US sale, down 55%, and these are classic 3D side-scrolling adventure games, but the Switch version came out, and yeah, they really do run well, and they're brilliant games in their own right. I think the series first came out back in '97. It's not one that I actually played back in the day. I think I was too busy playing like Clockwork Knight and stuff, but this is a remaster of the first 2 games, I believe, and I played through the demo of this, and I thought it was a real good time, but I have to say I just wouldn't be paying the asking price at launch. For $17 though, that's much more like it. That sale for Klonoa goes on all the way until July the 10th. Hoa was actually a recommendation from a friend Alex over at Switch Corner. He did a review of this, and I checked the review out and I thought, yeah, I'm going to pick that up. It's currently 50% off, down to £6.74. And it's very short, about 2 or 3 hours, which for me right now is just perfect. There's something quite cathartic about ticking games off your list, rather than just adding them. Anyway, this is a beautifully hand-painted game, and is a relatively simplistic puzzle platformer that has that feeling almost of a fairy tale. In its 2 or 3 hour runtime, the environments are constantly shifting. It will go from a beautiful water's edge all the way into a dark forest, and it has a really haunting soundtrack. That one's only 1.7 gigs. It's published by PM Studios, and that sale goes on until July the 7th. Another one of those flow-like experiences is Wavetale. Now this one ends quite soon. You've probably got about 20 hours, it depends which region you're in, but this is developed and published by Thunderful, and there's a mechanic where you can essentially skate on top of the waves. It's very flowy, and there's almost like a grinding mechanic like you'd see in a skating game. There are small islands interspersed in this vast sea, and it has a heartwarming story. Now, I mean, what game doesn't say it's got a heartwarming story? Well, actually, it's quite a few. It's a silly question, really. Man, I was playing Raincode. That's definitely not a heartwarming story. It's a good story, but not heartwarming. Anyway, I digress. This one had a few stutters at launch. It's had a few patches since then. It's not perfect, but it's actually fine. Mostly 30 frames per second. There are a few collectibles in there. You can change your appearance, and you'll gradually fill up your journal with different drawings from around the world. There is some combat as well that has a bit of a lock-on mechanic, and if you're interested in more detail, then do check out our full review. That sale of 40% off is only on until the 3rd of July. Guacamelee 1 and 2 are both on sale at the moment. They're not a double pack, which is a shame. There was supposed to be a physical double pack coming out. I don't know if it ever materialized, but these are some of the funniest I've played in a long time. They're choice-based adventure games with action thrown in, and a bit of platforming, loads of boss fights, and free roam of the large open world. I really enjoyed the first game, but I do think they excelled themselves with the sequel. The way it starts out is brilliant. There's not really much not to like about these, and at this price, they're great. And then you throw in the fact that they also have cooperative play for up to 4 of you. Really good, and well worth it at 75% off. Haven's another game that's had a load of updates since it came out. I know they had quite a few patches for performance, but then they also included some new content and the ability to tweak the relationship status to more suit your own personal preferences. You essentially play as a couple who are stranded on this planet. There's a backstory that you gradually uncover about their previous home, and let's just say it's not the nicest of places. And here you kind of glide around the world, clearing out what's called rust, and you move from place to place, gradually unfolding the story, trying to work out what you're going to do next. And then between, I don't want to call them missions because they're not really missions, but between whatever it is you're doing out there, you come back to your spaceship, and then it almost becomes a bit like an interactive visual novel. So there's a little story, kind of the mundane is emphasized. Like I say mundane, the minutia of a relationship is emphasized, and it's actually done really well so that you can connect quite closely with these protagonists. Gameplay wise, it gets a little tedious. I do like the motion and the fluidity, and there's a few bosses in there as well. It's got a weird combat system system that's almost turn-based, but I think the storytelling does enough to make this still a worthwhile and certainly unique experience. And you can also give a controller to a friend and play the whole thing in co-op, which actually makes the combat a little bit more enjoyable. That's 6.1 gigs to download, and that sale goes on until July the 14th. That then takes us onto our Saveloy selection before we look at a flawed gem. And our Saveloys this week. First up, you've got Gibbon Beyond the Trees, which is almost a continuous runner, except you're not running, you're swinging from tree to tree, making your way to the end of each stage. It has a really fluid animation system, and at 80% off, not a bad little pickup. Green Hell has got a bit of a mixed reputation. Some people love it, like me, some people really don't like it, and perhaps I feel the developers probably could have done a bit more in terms of optimization and support for the game after it's come out. But having said that, if you like brutally difficult survival games, there isn't really much better than this. When you go in water, you'll get like maggots in your wounds and stuff, and you have to pick them out. And then just when you think you've got yourself set up with a nice base, a cannibal will come rushing out of the undergrowth, and it's like, man, this is terrifying. That one's 90% off. And Figment, which we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, the sequel, the first game's 90% off at the moment for a little adventure game that you can play solo or just chill with a friend. Our new segment are the flawed gems. These are games that have serious flaws, but they're also quite good. And this time we've got Non-Guns Doppelganger Edition. This is down to £3.37, and it describes itself as a nihilistic action platform roguelite. And I've never played a game that's infuriated me more in the first couple of hours. It doesn't give you anything, like it doesn't tell you how to play, it doesn't kind of signpost you how to play. It just sticks you in this unusual black, white and orange world, and then expects you to just figure it out. You'll pick up power-ups and you won't know what they do. And I know this sounds like something that just shouldn't be good at all, but as you gradually start to figure out those mechanics and how to win, basically, it does become really quite compelling. There's a co-op mode that I don't know if it was in at the start, but if you've got a friend to join you as well, it's a good bit of fun. There are hundreds of different levels, and there are permanent unlocks. I think in this Doppelganger edition, they added in an arena mode as well, so you can just battle against enemies. The perfect flawed gem, really. That sale goes on until July the 5th. Then one to avoid that has once again gone straight to the top of the charts. It's Hollow 2. My never-ending battle to defeat this Dead Space clone is never finished, and I've gone back to it recently again to see if they'd patched it so that I could say, hey, it's actually okay. I mean, it wouldn't be okay because the base game's terrible, but still, you got to give people a chance. It's got terrible voice acting in it.
I mean, it's not bad.
The story's nonsensical, the shooting is appalling. Yeah, don't add it to your backlog. I know last week we had a game and we just saved someone from picking that one up, so hopefully we save someone on this one. And that's it. Now, we did have a discount on that was 10% for the month of June, but it's not June anymore, it's July. You can save yourself 5% on your eShop credit just by buying it over at switchup.gg, and we get a tiny little kickback from Nintendo, like really tiny. But still, it's better than nothing. Thanks so much to all of you, to our Patreons and members, and as always, for all things Switch, all the time. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be in the Lake District when you watch this, in a tent, just chilling, having a few days off. So yeah, happy days. What was I saying? Oh yeah, for all things Switch, all the time, keep your Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!